household. And but as far as the blueberries are concerned, they were devastated by birds earlier in the season. And so, looking at Dave down there, I don't think you'll have to adjust your statistics, because we only have 6 bushes. But normally they yield very well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm from Wales and I'm pleased to be Welsh. Okay, so we've got to sort of whip through this or you're going to miss your lunch. First of all, just some statistics, and we've sort of largely covered this. I'm looking at some Rabobank stuff, really just showing again the terrific growth that you've seen in fresh berries across Europe. Perhaps surprising for me was the fact that raspberries have done really well, and just every bit as well as blueberries as far as that graph is concerned, which seems unlikely, and you can see the more sort of mature market for strawberries. But just doing so much better than fruit overall. Here we go. As we've already been told, strawberries dominate in the European market in terms of volume, but blueberries are expanding at a rate, and reflecting our sort of more recent Brexit, we don't follow Europe on blueberries. We're ahead of Europe on blueberries. I'm proud to be in that position. So what have we got here? It's that strawberries are 75% of total volume for the EU in terms of consumption, but actually it's only 69% in the UK, and the proportion accounted for by blueberries is 18% and growing really, really quickly. You can see again, I'm not going to dwell on this, that the blue lines are blueberries and that they're just outperforming any of the other berries, remarkably so actually. And again, if I take my market, and actually Henry, the nice man from Tesco, was talking already about this, that what I think is astonishing, that if you went back 10 or 11 years, that berries, fresh berries in total, were 12% of the total fruit value, the fruit bowl, if you will. So total consumer expenditure on fruit through retail was 12% on berries. By 2016, I just update this, I haven't got it on my chart, but they're now 22%. So close to a quarter of all expenditure on fresh fruit through retail in the UK is on fresh berries. And an increasing proportion of that is for blueberries. So blueberries actually now account for 6% of all consumers' expenditure on fresh fruit. Doing really, really well. I mean, Henry showed you these sort of, it's rather exotic for those of you who are not into the marketing end, but just again, over a longer period, here we've got 10 years, that close to 80% of households in the UK buy strawberries, and they buy them about 14 times a year. So, I mean, why is that important? This is a blueberry conference. It just shows you what sort of target you could expect from blueberries as they sort of continue their growth in my market and many other markets. So blueberries, here we are. In 2005, 12% of households ever bought them in a year. Now, as Henry showed us, 46% do. They bought them 5 times a year. If we went back 10 years ago, now they buy them 12 times a year. And I wouldn't be at all surprised over the next 10 years to see the penetration rate for blueberries to move towards strawberries, to get up to 65, 70% of households buying blueberries, and what's more, on a pretty regular basis. I mean, it looks just really good. It's difficult for us, to look gloomy. If I pinch some of the Driscoll research, it's so relevant for both the US and for the UK. You know, why do retailers like fresh berries? Because their shoppers like fresh berries. And what's more, the people who buy more berries are pretty special shoppers. They tend to shop, they spend twice as much than a regular shopper, so they just buy more stuff. And what's more, they buy more high margin stuff. They spend more on wine, on flowers, etc. And the most recent little piece of Driscoll's market research, which I like and I completely agree with, is that their survey finds that berries are more likely to be associated with happiness. And that's true. You know, it seems a silly thing to say, but if you're talking about berries or giving out berries to people smile, you know, which is just sort of brilliant, because they don't necessarily smile if you gave them potatoes. Or Brussels sprouts, for that matter. You know, that's more challenging. If you're in fresh berries, then you know you're in a special place. Terrific. About 2 weeks ago, I was in Beijing, and this is hardly in-depth quantitative market research, but it was just for me indicative of the potential for fresh blueberries and other high-value fruit in the Chinese market. I was in Beijing. I was in a supermarket. It wasn't an upscale supermarket. It was being shopped by pretty regular, middle-class Beijing consumers. And here we are with blueberries selling at $2.50, if I convert the yuan to US dollars, $2.50 per 125-gram punnet. You know, that's sort of, I thought, wow, the Chinese economy is growing quickly, but per capita income or household income is still relatively low, yet people are willing to pay that amount of money for a 125-gram punnet. I mean, that's at developed country prices. It just shows you the potential. I mean, next door to it, for example, were cherries, same supermarket, you know, selling at 32 US dollars per kilo. And they were being bought. Now, the Chinese, they'll buy fresh fruit and high-value fresh fruit, particularly if it's got a story, and I'll come back to that. So, you know, we've heard such good things about what's happening in blueberries, I'm saying. So maybe you should just enjoy a stay in Argentina, Uruguay, congratulate yourselves on picking a winning fruit, and with a skip in your step, return home, secure in the knowledge you'll be having a splendidly profitable future. Congratulations and thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy lunch. I haven't quite finished, sorry. Why? Because I was just looking on the plane at the trade magazine, and there was a lovely piece about those nutty almond investors. It looks like a glut of epic proportions is looming. And I looked at that and thought, I might just share that with the blueberry guys. And I'm thinking, it's just as well that you're a thoughtful bunch and that you're much more sensible in the blueberries business, where you clearly plan your supply to be in line with demand growth. Don't you? Well, maybe you do. Maybe you do. But I think, you know, we're seeing a global, and I call it the global blue rush, and I think it's got a slight whiff, slight smell of almonds and the Californian gold rush for me. And also I see a link here with the terminal migration of lemmings. You know, this rush to throw yourself off a cliff. And actually listening to Dave's talk this morning, I mean, I think this is, if anything, a more North American problem than anything else. It's, you know, in terms of returns, in many parts of the world people are very happy. But as you said, they're not necessarily very happy in the US. And clearly there's some sort of mismatch in demand and supply there. So, you know, things are looking pretty good in blueberries, but, you know, they're not that good. Depends where you are in the world. So, look, just to give you a point of contrast, I work right across the fresh produce industry and in meat, in fresh foods in general, actually. And in almost every other category, apart from berries, it's pretty tough going. Per capita consumption of fruit in Europe is static at best, declining in some cases. It certainly is for vegetables. The really intense competition in retail across Europe and in other areas is sort of driving value out of the fresh produce market. I mean, here we are in the UK last year, the market was down year on year $1 billion US. The hard discounters are expanding, again, as Henry pointed out, I mean, taking market share and offering product at astonishingly low prices. Fresh cut is expanding, but values are under pressure there. What about brands in my market? There are very, very few fresh produce brands. I'll come back to that in a minute. But actually, fresh produce brands, where they do exist and where they have legs, tend to overperform their category. So, blueberry growers, I've used this slide in Coffs Harbour, that they continue to be blessed. Now, without being blasphemous, you know, the good Lord is continuing to bless you, and may he or she continue to do so. But, so, are blueberries going in the same direction as fresh produce elsewhere? They continue to have a golden period of demand, even in more mature markets. They're in tune with powerful long-term consumer trends, and again, Henry pointed that out to I believe global markets are nowhere near maturity, but we will have problems synchronizing supply and demand. And it really is necessary to keep pumping out the good news stories about blues, but I'll come back to it. You want me to talk about the commodity trap, and I'm going to do that just now. So here we go. I mean, this is my oldest slide, and I just sort of threw it in. I've used it for years. It strikes me that if you look at the value chain, the global food value chain, that power becomes polarized. It goes to either end of the value chain. So at one end, it goes, power is in the hands of those like life science companies, those that own intellectual property, those that own genetic rights. They have something which is others value and are willing to pay more for. So that's, power goes to one end, and it also goes to the other end, where you tend to have major retailers who have access to consumers, who have significant market power, often as not in countries where, Australia, for example, where two major retailers have 70+% market share. And then everybody else in the middle gets the bejesus squeeze out of them, unless they have something that they own and other people value. And actually food manufacturers and some fresh produce companies have things called brands. And brands can deliver significant profitability. But I wonder to what extent we have strong brands in the fresh produce business. So, for blueberries, it strikes me that one-size-fits-all blueberry era is clearly over. And as markets mature, you'd expect to see, and we're seeing it now, premium varieties with distinct, well, we're getting premium varieties. Whether they've got distinct points of difference is another matter. But they're emerging to meet requirements of specific market segments. That's what I'd expect to see. If you want to get out of the commodity trap, you've got to have something that you own, a blueberry you own, and you own those rights, which delivers benefits to consumers that meets their specific requirements. I'll talk a little bit more about that now. So, for example, just non-berry examples, but here we are, the limited release grape here. Sun World do a good job in the US with specific varieties of grapes that they own and that have specific advantages. Envy, the apple, too. But I wonder to what extent fresh produce brands have real strength. If you take the ones at the top, for example, they're all brands associated with bananas. Now, do you think the Dole banana brand, is it a strong brand? Is the Chiquita banana brand a strong brand for bananas? What do you think? Yes? So I'd ask the question, if it's yes, if you go to a supermarket and they don't have Chiquita bananas, do you say, I'm not going to shop here, I'm going to another supermarket? No.